Hey there, boils and girls. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollow Weekly. Nick and George here talking about the Green Knight,
Subliminal.
the doo-doo Knight.
Wow. You're putting your
on
cards on the table all at once. I love it. So, what do you hate this movie? Are you mad at this movie? Are you disappointed with this movie? Tell me your emotional state with The Green Knight.
Comatose.
You thought you were getting amped up. Comatose.
No, I decided just jump off the ridge. No, I was really okay. So for those who don't know, The Green Knight,
Yes.
based off some old ass thing. It was such a good story. They remained anonymous. Just kidding. They have no idea who wrote it. That's my favorite thing.
It's considered one of the jewels of English literature of that time. Think Beowulf. It's basically Beowulf.
Yeah, and I thought we were gonna get like a nice hero's journey.
We were so excited for this movie.
I thought it was gonna rock. Like
let's set the base for anyone left who doesn't know us. We like A24 movies generally. One of your favorite horror movies of modern times is Hereditary. I love The Witch. We're not anti A24. We're not anti slow burn. We're not anti personal shopper. We fought for over and over and over again. We're not from that list of movies. I love David Lynch. For that list of movies, we going into this, we expected to love it, and.
Oh man, I'm still mad. I'm still mad. It was just I don't even know where to begin with this review because like I'm so like I remember first seeing about it and being like, oh, this looks like a great fantasy adventure story like it, and then like it kind of disappeared and then it came back. I think it got pushed from COVID. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh, dude, The Green Knight comes out this month. And this was even like last month. I was like, oh man, I have to wait a whole nother 2 months to like see this movie. And then last night, I was like, today's the day.
Today's the day. We're gonna. So, one thing here is that it was first time in a theater, so that was fun. We were getting excited going into it, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think one of your like literally text horror movies, like one of your foundational horror movies, is Sleepy Hollow. So let's get personal for like a second. We were watching this movie, and there is an amazing. We're gonna spoil the shit out of this. Spoilers, nothing happens in the movie, but like we're going to spoil the nothing that happens anyway. So if you're just, if you haven't seen it, go don't see it some more and then come back. So, but here's the thing. I was excited to get started with it, and then my review of the story is an A-, right? Like this is one of the great stories. This is one of those stories where when you have the idea, like I should put a guy in a suit and give him like Superman powers, but it'll be made out of iron and I'll call him Iron Man. Like once you have the idea, you're like, oh my God, it's a winner. I got to go with it. Right. When you have a story where someone walks in, challenges you to a fight, lets you hit them for free, you get aggressive about it and behead them. Like I'm going to put a stop to this so they can't retaliate me. And they pick up their own head and say, I'll see you in a year. And I'm going to do the same to you, and then leave. And the person's left on the hook waiting for a year to get the beheading come back to them. Winner, like winning story out of the gate, right?
That, and even taking like that idea, like your imagination runs wild. Like I thought this movie. Well, first of all, I didn't read the 500 AD whenever.
Right, this is 900 years old is what it is.
Okay. So like I was expecting like there to be like some sense of dread into like the build up of this thing because like clearly once you chop someone's head off and they pick it up and they're like, you got yourself a date in 365 days, the clock's ticking.
Yep.
And none of that was there. There was no dread about it. Like
the ring energy should have come in 7 days. Like that.
Yeah, and then the time comes and he's like, what do I got? Like 5 days. I'm out. It just like rides off, and I'm like, what? There was like no dread leading up to this, at all.
Right. Did the movie look amazing?
Yes.
In parts, all of it.
Parts.
In parts, okay. So
I mean, there's like a hand. I mean, there's like, I'm sure if like you put a gun in my head, I could find like 20 awesome like shots.
So it looked better than the average movie. Okay. Yeah, okay. Because I was struck by. Anyway, the personal part is I got sad because I know you love Sleepy Hollow, and there's this amazing shot of the beheaded guy riding off on the horse, and I was so ready for this movie to be great. And then and then that was it. That was the only good moment until kind of the end. But this is like that's a like shotgun takedown of this movie. Let me get a little sniper about this,
Okay.
right? So here's what I think is going on. I think that this is a takedown of what the original story stood for, which is kind of like patriarchy, misogyny, and then chivalry, honor. This is coming from the point of view of that stuff is old and was never accurate anyway, so we're gonna deconstruct it and take it apart, right? Kind of like Troy did with like Achilles, the Brad Pitt character, is kind of awful for most of that movie until the end, right? So like, but even worse, this is like a takedown of it. Here's the interesting kernel that I think was happening that I think might have led everything astray here, right? David Lowery, the director, I think he thought to himself, let me do like the college dorm version of this, right? You're high and you're in a college dorm. We're just talking about this, right? So that version of it goes like this. I'm David Lowery. So what if like you read these stories and all these people who like go on these adventures and come back and they're like, I slayed the dragon, I like did whatever. What if they were just making all this up? What if when they went out, they just got lost, then they ate some mushrooms, then they hallucinated something happened, then they got hit on by another guy, then they felt ashamed they got hit on by a guy in the Middle Ages. So then they came back and they were like, I was a spell where I had to swap kisses, like whatever, right? And then, did you kill the Green Knight? Oh, yeah, beheaded the crap out. Right, exactly. Here's his axe that you found in like the mossy whatever. So he's saying they were all making this heroism shit up and then storytelling it into greatness, and I'm gonna strip it bare and show you the man behind the curtain. That's what I think this movie was trying to do, right? The problem is that Wizard of Oz would have blown if it was an hour and 45 minutes of watching the wizard play with levers behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Like that is such an easy target. That's not the big target they think it is. No one really has to take down chivalry in 2021. Honor is having a bad decade.
Honors
already. Like these are easy targets. This target, David Lowery saw Honor dragging itself down the sidewalk, gut shot, and he looked at it and he goes, this motherfucker, I'm gonna go take this guy down. And he went over with an axe and beheaded Honor. But like, dude, it was bleeding out. All right. Like, I don't get what made anyone think that they needed this level of investment and storytelling craft to make that simple a point. And the only other point I can detect in there is like in Moby Dick, there's a chapter called The Whiteness of the Whale. It's legendary to be like the scariest, the most awful chapter in that book, where a lot of brutal things happen. It's because the whale is blank. It's a blank wall, and it terrifies Ahab, that blankness. He could deal with anything but that. He hates the idea of just no features, just this acreage of white bone and flesh heading towards you to maul you with no eyes to read, no purpose for why it's doing it, right? So like there's a part in this movie where they try to do that but with green. So David Lowery hates the color green, right? There's a whole kind of amazing speech in there about green,
Yeah.
right? But those are the only 2 points I can detect this movie. Is chivalry and honor weren't what they were cracked up to be, which I'm pretty sure we figured out already. And then we're at like The Departed. We're like crowdfunding to get the obvious rat metaphor out of it, but we have 2 hours of obvious metaphor here in this. Can I crowdfund to remove like 98% of the running time of this movie out?
That would be great. That would.
But does that make sense? That's what I think was happening. That's I think what the movie was trying to do, and I don't know why it thought it needed all that space. It should have tried to do a lot of other things, but it seemed to only be interested.
Well, I think instead of doing all the other things, that would have made it interesting. Because Alex and I read a review where that reviewer said he did a poor job at stringing things together, which I agree with. Like,
okay.
It felt like he went with like a style over substance kind of view. There's a lot of pretty shots in the movie, but you could show me a frame of this movie and be like, come up with your own story, or like, what do you think's happening in this story? And it's gonna be more interesting than what happened in the movie.
Necessarily, because nothing happens in the movie, right?
Yeah, but and I feel like there was a lot of like, it felt like they were doing cool cinematography for cool cinematography. Like, I don't see how any of it was really
right.
supporting.
But this movie carries itself like it's super innovative. So, remember Nocturnal Animals, that movie I showed you with, with the opening that no one ever forgets what's
yeah.
Right? Like, that movie actually does what this movie is trying to do. Not perfectly. That movie is also flawed. But that movie is what this movie is trying to do. There Will Be Blood did everything this movie did, and then 100 other things this movie didn't.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. So for people listening, these past 2 weeks, I have been having Nick's Summer Movie Extravaganza, and I have a 0 dud policy. I am not allowed to watch it. There's no
That's right.
duds. And I'm going to try to go through the list here, and I'll
Do it.
wrap this around. So in this order, I think this is the order I've watched everything in. I started with There Will Be Blood. Then I watched, I believe, Fargo. Then I watched Boogie Nights. Then I watched, funny you mentioned The Departed. I watched The Departed. And then, what did I watch of that? We watched Predator. And then Another Round with Mads Mikkelsen, which was the Oscar nominee one last year. And then Patton. And then what was the last one we watched?
Unforgiven.
Unforgiven. All great movies.
And Unforgiven is the anti-Western, just like this movie is the anti-fantasy movie, but Unforgiven is actually good.
But I just watched like a bunch of like undoubtedly well-known
unfortunate for this movie
masterpieces,
right?
And I could sit there and I could watch them and like take it in, and then like I keep using the phrase like chewing on it. Like there's enough to chew on afterwards. Like I've thought a lot about Patton after watched Patton. I thought a lot about Unforgiven after watched Unforgiven. And the whole time we were watching The Green Knight, I was just thinking like I was trying to find something to chew on, and I was like, I can't find anything. And like, why is that? Like like I like the actors in the movie are all good actors.
Excellent.
It's shot like there's a lot of very pretty shots in it.
Excellent eye for visuals.
But like it felt like they were doing these slow. There's also a lot of stretches in the movie where like nothing happened and no one talks, which like There Will Be Blood had a lot of that. But like whenever they do it though, like there's a lot more purpose, and like the things that are happening on screen are there's so much information coming at you visually. With this film, there's nothing, and before that nothingness was more nothingness. So you have no substance to chew on during these long, what are pretty shots, which normally if there was a great story and interesting things were happening, when they did that shot, like I thought the shot when he was in the forest and the camera spins and he's dead and spins back around, he's there, I just thought that was, I don't think the film earned that moment.
Right.
Like there was
That's a good way to put it.
There was nothing before that when I was like, oh yeah, because if he doesn't do this, then he'll end up dead or something. Like
no, the movie had to do it because nothing was happening, and the movie was determined that nothing was allowed to happen. So the only way anything could happen is if it was a fake out dream sequence, a la Halloween 2, Rob Zombie version, and they needed to do it, or the movie would have been worse.
Which is hard to really. But my point is, I am hot off watching classics.
Yes.
Great movies that when the movie ended, every time one of these movies ended, like I would let the music play at the end of it, and I just could sit there and think about what I just watched, and like, you know, what's the meaning of all, like, you know, what, not necessarily what's the meaning, but like part of it is, but also part of it just in like letting it simmer. Like when the pasta sauce is done, you just kind of let it simmer there, and you know, the kitchen smells great, and you know, it's just a nice vibe to be in. And I just was sitting there going, like, am I fucking stupid? Like, is there something that I'm not getting? Because a lot of these other people are raving this movie.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
But let me see, because I think this is really going to illustrate what you're saying, right? I remember on the rewatch of There Will Be Blood with You, there's a moment where, even though it's not a fast-moving movie for most of it, there was a moment where Daniel was traveling in a train, and it was going on for a minute. Like, it was shots of train. Like,
right.
And I was like, the scene before, he had been really awful to his child. He had also been really good to. And I was like, wait, I got to figure out, what is this guy's relationship? Is he using his kid to drum up business, or does he love his kid, or both? And the movie started doing something. I'm like, wait, I got to figure this out. And then it was like a train sequence. I'm like, oh, I appreciate that. I'll just hang out here and you do your thing for 20 seconds while I catch up and think about what I. In this movie, if you tried to do that, it would go like this. It would go, oh, he's on a horse. He's traveling. It's going to be 5 minutes of shots of him traveling. So I got to catch up on what happened last. Let me see. Do I think an hour and 50 minutes from now that
His girlfriend gave him a bell.
Right. But an hour and 50 minutes now, do I think he's going to turn out to be a great and honorable knight? Probably not. Okay, wait, he's still traveling? Okay, what else can I think about? Wait, what else did the movie give me to think about? Is he an honorable guy? No, probably not.
Does he have the 5 virtues that make a knight?
Probably not, right? Like, there's nothing there. In the other movies, when you hit slow moments, they've like camel humped you, where you have extra things to think about to get you through, like the whatever, right? Even if you can't appreciate it for the visual, whatever, they've given you something else. But this movie is not doing that, and it's not doing it on purpose. This movie is masochistic. This movie wants to be in pain. It wants you to be in pain. It wants you to laugh at it. It wants you to hate it.
Well, my wallet's in pain from fucking paying to see it.
And I would kind of respect it if you could pull that off. I feel like in a mainstreamish way, Parts of Seven were doing that. Parts of Seven were like, we don't want you to watch, but you're going to feel like the people who are getting tortured, who can't eat when they want to and can't get out of bed when they want to and can't fight back when they want to. We're going to put you in that position. It's going to feel awful, but you're going to love it. And then you feel awful and you're like, but I kind of love this, right? And this movie was like, we're going to make you think that everything is absurd, and green, which stands for life, actually stands for death, and honor, which stands for, being honorable, actually means deception and treachery. And you're like, yeah, I know. Keep it coming. We'll get to the interesting part. And then they're like, the end. And you're like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah. I mean, I think if I had to say like something like good about the movie, I do think the part I think I enjoyed the most is when he went to the Winifred.
Who's the girl in Harry Potter the ghost that lurks around?
The one in the bathroom.
Yeah. It felt like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Lori Lovelight or some shit.
I always like I never think there's enough skeletons in movies. Like skeletons always look cool. Like my favorite part of The Shining is when at the end Shirley Duvall sees like the lobby and like they're just covered in cobwebs. Like that's cool. I like skulls. Those are great.
Totally.
They always look good on movies.
Totally.
But man,
the scariest shot in this movie is a skeleton. It's the thing in the cage at the crossroads. Remember?
Oh yeah, that was pretty
swinging
good.
In. That was awesome.
Yeah, but that like
the best non-Green Knight shot in the movie. Yeah,
the Green Knight itself was cool.
If you're gonna make me say something good about the movie, I'm gonna say the Green Knight. He was awesome every time.
He was the dad in The Witch,
right? And he was awesome every time he was on the screen. He was awesome. I also liked here. I'm not gonna fight with this movie. The movie fucking sucks. But let me pull out the things that were good. One was, I liked that the characters talked real occasionally, right? Like the Green Knight would say something poetic, and then he'd be like, "All right, well, let's get to hacking."
Yeah.
And then I like Joel Edgerton would like, he'd be like, "So what's the meaning of life?" And that, the Devatel would be like, "Honor," and he'd be like, "Are you asking me or telling me?"
Yeah.
Right. Like they would all of a sudden talk real and then go back into poetese, and I did like when the movie was able to do that.
They could dip out
right?
and hit you with those.
I thought that was really good. I loved that the movie actually had fidelity to what it would have looked like to be in that world, because nothing ever does. Like The Tudors is set in the same world, but I can't buy enough lamps to make my house as bright as the Tudors do with 2 candles in their castle. In this movie, it's dark as shit inside the castles. It's terrifying on the steep spiral stairways. Like it is what it was, right? Like it's claustrophobic, it's damp, it's spare, it's intimidating that like someone says, all right, you'll go off on a journey, and when you go out the door that you're going to be doing that for the next 6 months.
Right.
Right. Like the movie had fidelity to that, but all movies like that do. Unforgiven does, the Robert Ford, Jesse James, like the movies that are these slow burn type of movies, that's what they specialize in, is like actually putting you in that world. That's not special anymore.
No. And what sucks is I think like the beats and the rhythm of the movie are nice. It's just the story was so not interesting. Like the idea of the person leaves home and then like 4 or 5 things happen and then like the typical.
You mean the actual fucking story?
Yeah. But like the beats of it, I thought
that were
they had.
Yeah.
Like if you could just like if the movie was a fish tank, if you could just get rid of the water and fill it back up with different aquatic life, then
that's so good.
Then you have something really great. But they just filled it full of shitty fish or whatever. Fuck, I don't know what kind of metaphor.
And one floating head, which was okay. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get to this when we're done with the Green Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Because my last episode, I talked about how much I hated Fear Street 94.
Yes.
And I haven't even told you this. This is fucking fresh for everyone.
Oh, shit.
So
well, we can be done with the Green Knight.
I don't really know what to add to it.
There's
nothing.
Huge
disappointment.
But
I got one more thing. So I went. My favorite thing is, I'm not big on Reddit, but like I like the movie discussions. The weekend stuff comes out because there's a lot of great discussions.
I was going to make you say this.
Yeah. And so one person did a review who talked about in the story. The knights have 5 pointed shields and supposed to be the 5 virtues that make you a knight. And he explained all of that and filled me in and the other commenters of like where those virtues were in the movie. And obviously it was like with the head and like the castle
obviously.
And the things are, and they all meant their own things. But the way that Redditor, I forget, I should look up his username because anyways. His review was better than the movie.
Right.
I understood more, and I was actually moved by him telling me.
I'm seeing tweets where I'm like, I wish I had seen that movie because that sounds lovely.
Well, you actually said something interesting too. Like, and I sort of thought this. I was like, am I getting like The Witched for people who didn't like The Witch? And then you came out and you said like, this is how people who watched and hated The Witch felt.
Yep.
And
where we were the few people who liked it and everyone else hated it. But they were really hated it. Like they were miserable. They were trying to get it out of their eyes. Right?
Yeah, like I remember the girls next to me as soon as The Witch ended. They're like, that sucked. And my head was like, what are you, stupid?
Right, exactly.
And then Green Knight ends, and I'm like, maybe I'm stupid.
Speaking of, we should throw in that our audience also hated it.
Did they?
They absolutely hated it.
The Witch?
No, this movie.
Oh, good. You guys rock.
No, this movie. No.
Oh,
in our theater.
Listeners.
In our theater,
they liked it.
Their audience hated it. So, Jenny heard people talking like, "I want 2 hours of my life back." The people next to us were laughing at scenes that were supposed.
Yeah, when we went outside, I could see the people like crowd. It felt like it was nice. First of all, it was nice to like walk outside and see everyone talking about a movie.
Totally.
But like, there was one point in time when Alex was like, what kind of white boy bullshit was that? Like,
right, totally.
And I saw the guy across from us, like, kind of look at us, and you could just tell that he agreed.
Yeah,
and I was like, my people, this is great. We all hated this.
Yeah, and the thing that made me sad was there was just open derision. Like, people were openly laughing at things that were supposed to be like dramatic or reveals or whatever, and people just found it comical.
There's a few actual.
There's an actual hilarious money shot in this movie that you
missed
that I missed.
Yeah, you had walked out and like
by happenstance.
You missed the jerk off scene
because I didn't know any spoilers about this movie.
Yeah, the girl he has that sash on. And that's what he ends up splooging over. He gets it on the thing, and then he looks over, and that grandma that has the blindfold was there the whole time while he was getting his his rod polished. So
Shakespeare was doing that 400 years ago. Matter of fact, the story's 900 years old. So like that's what I'm saying is the people who are really like amazed by this movie. I feel like I'm listening to the reviews, and there's reviewers I respect, like really like, and they're like, I'm begging you to go see this movie. It's such a
that NPR podcast, like the LA people.
Yeah, it's such a. She's like, it's such a creative twist on the story. Or the knight isn't doing the things you expect, and honor and chivalry. I'm like, I know. They didn't even believe that shit then. Like the thing is, and I'm done with this after this, but this is selling them so short. Like Shakespeare wrote a play called Troilus and Cressida. Troilus and Cressida is a takedown of the whole Trojan War romantic myth of it, like a purposeful takedown.
Right.
Achilles kills Hector in Shakespeare's play by stabbing him in the back in the dead of night, and then telling everyone he beat him in a heroic duel. No, that's not even true. He has his like bodyguards chop him down after he stabs him in the back and wounds him. Like nothing happens the way it's supposed to happen with honor and like whatever. this takedowns have already happened so many times. I don't know. That's the thing is there was so much built on something that is so clearly already established.
Yeah, like
I don't understand.
I don't know if this makes sense, but I'm just throw it out there, see if it sticks. But like, I felt like maybe it was because of when I watched this. Like it was early 20s. But like, I felt like I learned more about like, I don't know, stepping into the occasion of life through like Drive. Yes. Like at the end when that song plays Real Human Being, Real Hero, and he like gets stabbed, but he like does everything to help.
Drive is an excellent parallel to this movie. Because Drive's abstractly trying to make a sort of complex point about abstract things like what are your responsibilities to other people and like how the bad you do gets on you and on the people around you. And like, I mean...
Yeah, because the Green Knight tried to do that with that flashback at the end. Totally. And all that bad. But I think Drive just did whatever that was supposed to do way better.
Right. Or like No Country for Old Men. So like in No Country for Old Men, the moment... The meaning, the green speech that happens in the Green Knight, the 2-minute, like, all the things that green stands for, that had some really good turns of phrases in it, but went on way too long and was way too repetitive. But again, I think it's on purpose, because I think this movie paced itself like grass growing on purpose to fuck with us. On purpose. I'm telling you, that's what this movie's doing. But anyway, No Country for Old Men, that version of that 2.5-minute green speech is taken care of in one line. It's 2 lines. It's when Javier Bardem goes to Josh Brolin's wife, and then she goes, "You don't have to do this," and he's like, "Everybody says that." And she's like, "Yeah," but he's like, "You have to call the coin. I can't call it for you." She's like, "It's not the coin. You're making the call. It's you." That's it. That point is on par with any point that was made in Green Knight in 30-minute blocks.
Yeah.
And they did it in 2 seconds over here. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't understand. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. I mean, that's... and the way I want to end my review for it is I'm just like immensely disappointed. Like, I thought this movie was going to like move me and be like, you know... Just I thought I was going to connect
or
with
grow on you like Personal Shopper or something else,
or like Moss, which is green in the Green Knight.
Fuck me. The puppet show in the movie was better than the movie.
Puppet show was better. Okay, so now let's go to Fear Street.
Switch gears, yes.
So I hate
surprised me. I had no idea.
Well, okay. So since we last time we recorded, I went on a rampage saying how Alex and I
watched the first one, but not the other 2.
Since then, well, I've only watched 70. We're gonna watch the last one tonight.
Okay.
But since then, you've watched all of them.
Yes.
What did you think of?
Oh my God, this episode should have been about this if we were gonna do this, because this is. I know this is great. This trilogy is magnificent.
Did you? Okay, so 1-to-1, because I can only match you for the first 2 steps, and then well, we're gonna watch the third one tonight, and I kind of
totally.
First of all, let me just get this out here. Second one, I loved.
Yeah,
I absolutely.
But tell me why, because you didn't like the first. So what changed?
So from the the characters were far more interesting. Like I thought they made. I don't know if it was because I thought they were better actors or they were better written, because it was written by the same duo. I thought the characters were more interesting. They were more believable.
Okay.
But also I think the setting really helped. So I think I talked about in the review is like you never really get a sense of like what this town is or anything like that.
True.
When you're at a summer camp, it's pretty easy to get a hold of. There's there's the bunks, there's the mess hall, there's
even Final Girls, which is relatively generic, gave you like it's pretty easy. Right.
And one of my favorite comedies of all time is Wet Hot American Summer.
Right.
I fucking love
great movie.
That movie, and I love the Netflix TV series. So I instantly got. It's so. David Wayne, like if there's one non-horror director having a show, it would be David Wayne. Like that guy. First of all, he's hilarious, but his technical things, like because those movies have like huge casts, like
totally
like huge cast. They shoot a bunch of scenes. It'll be like 2 actors in the same room, but they shoot the scene with the close-ups.
That's
completely different days, and it's somehow they just do it
it's
right.
It's crazy to juggle.
And when they cut it, like you feel like. Anyways, on the technical aspect, it blows your mind. But there's this. So number one, characters I thought were more interesting.
Okay.
They also, and what's weird is knowing that some of them are the ones that we're going to see that we saw in 1994, like the officer, the lady that they go to the movie in the beginning. Like I don't think that really mattered because one, it's totally different actors of them in a totally different part of their life.
Totally.
But they were better, and I don't know if I can.
Did it do the thing where it told you 5 times what you were supposed to know? Like you hated
no,
it?
so I hated that. They did not do that.
No, they didn't.
They did. And there was so 2 things that really jumped out at me was and I don't know if I can describe this. I was thinking about this in the show, like how am I going to describe this in the show? But there was a few scenes where they were just talking. One of them was like when they were getting ready to. It was right before they announced the capture of the flag. For some reason, the way they were shooting them having their dialogue really reminded me of like how Wes Craven would shoot a scene like that.
Okay.
And I don't know how to describe it because I just watched this Joe Blow. I think his name's Joe Blow. He has a horror movie. I think he's a big movie director.
I've seen
movie.
Yep.
But he has a horror thing, and he did one on Wes Craven's Curse, which is Wes Craven's werewolf movie that I had no idea existed.
I saw I saw part of it.
And what was interesting about it was like imagine like you have Wes Craven, but then you like take away his budget, you take away some time, and you give him the actors you don't want. It's like giving a
then you have Last House on the
Left. but the way they were like showing like some of the scenes in there, you could see someone like a chef and having all the ingredients he needed to make his masterpiece dish. And because it like stripped Wes Craven of like what makes him great, I was able to see like what made him great in this. And I don't know how to describe it. It was just the way that they shot it. Like it was very I guess it was crystal clear.
I think you might be filling in some reasons I think you're right. Obviously it's your opinion, but like I also think that you and Alex particularly is susceptible, like your antenna are too good because you're really internet savvy and really pop culture savvy and all that stuff to get tricked. I think a lot of the first 2 hours was set up. A lot.
For 94.
For everything else.
Okay.
I heard someone say reviewing one episode of this trilogy, it would be like reviewing a chapter of a book. Right?
Yeah.
It'd be like reading half of The Stand and coming on and doing a podcast review and being like, man, The Stand is really exciting, really well written, but this Randall Flagg gets away with everything all the time. It's so annoying. This motherfucker. Is anyone ever going to stop him? Probably not. Right? Like, you haven't read the whole book, so like you're not reviewing the book. You're only reviewing what you have at hand. And I think this is a lot of this was like the Olympics. Gymnasts, how they stick the landing, right?
Yeah.
And the landing here is really like the last 40 minutes of the 6-hour block. And I think a lot of that was hidden and front-ended in the first. And I just don't. I think that bumped you guys the wrong way, and that's fair because it's structurally a little weird. This trilogy is weird in a structure, but when it pays off, you're gonna see.
I'm really excited
that it's like Knives Out. It's gonna be like whatever, and then all of a sudden,
because you watched them, and then it was just like
I love it in reverse order. The last one is my favorite. The middle one's my second favorite. And the first one's my least favorite. But I really do think of it kind of like Twin Peaks: The Return style. I think of it as just one big story. Right. Not like broken up like that. The Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, I feel like are truly broken up. You could watch all 5 whatever hours of it in a row and have like a mega journey. But I think you can watch them in those blocks. I don't think this one you can. I don't know why. I mean, they had to release it in those time blocks, obviously. But yeah. I think this would be best served just watching front to back as a thing. And I think it's excellent. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever done. I don't think it's really particularly scary or like whatever. But I do think that it's the one thing that, since we're doing so much literature on this podcast, Samuel L. Johnson, who was like an ancient literary critic, he said, it's got to have life in it, damn it, before anything else. It's got to have life, right? Yeah. So, like, it has all the technical and the storytelling wizardry or whatever, but there's something really alive in there that is dynamic and interesting and a little unpredictable. Great energy to it.
So, like, I didn't buy the relationship in the first one. Like, there was just something that felt kind of dead between the two. Mm-hmm. Like, they just didn't. I couldn't believe that like they were like really madly in love with each other. It just felt like, hey, they're in a relationship and you're supposed to bite, you dumb motherfucker.
Right.
But like the sisters Like, I believe that relationship, and maybe it's an actor thing. I don't know, because they're in the third one. So from what I saw in the preview, and I'm sure they crush it in that one.
They do, actually.
Yeah. So maybe it's just the writing or the setting. But one of the things that the movie 94 did that annoyed me was they were like, "Hey, well, you want to know how it's in 1994? Set your watch for 30 seconds because we're gonna play a song from the fucking 90s, you idiot."
Right.
And then they kept playing it. This one did a lot of 70s music, but it didn't bump me this time. And
because you didn't live through 70s.
but the music was good. The music was good, and like I wonder if I would.
Well, wait till they hit you with those 1660s hits.
After the Green Knight, if I get hit with a fucking lute, I can't do any more lutes or woodwind. I can't fucking do it. I don't want to see every time we left. That's actually the best thing about the Green Knight is when we left. We kept talking about that Skittles commercial where that guy's like, "Berries and cream." Did you? Like that's what we were like. If we see any more of that shit,
right?
The music didn't bump me. The only thing that I thought was a little weird was how like they built like the mess hall and the bathrooms like on top of this complex cave system. Like when they were building it.
Yes, totally. I mean, there are some weird things and some plot holes actually, but that usually that could cause some trouble or whatnot. But I think because this is clearly set in that YA chaotic. Like when I was their age, my head was such a jumbled mess that if it feels like a jumbled mess, I'm like, oh, I'm just in a teenager's head. Like, there it is. Like, for some reason it's less jarring when you're in their kind of headspace while you're on the trip. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's kind of why a lot of those teen slashers work as well. You can overlook some of the obvious, like, why are they not doing this? Because you're like, oh, well, everyone who's 17 is an idiot.
Did you get any Wes Craven vibes from the second one?
I did, and the thing is that if I had to try to sum up Wes Craven, I was thinking while you were saying it, it would be like something like polished humanity, right? There are directors who can really capture humanity, but they have to get messy to do it. And then there's directors like Stanley Kubrick who are technically excellent, but their movies are a little cold. Wes Craven could get the humanity across and be spot on all the polished shit as well. He had like a really unique skill set, like a really unique combination. And when this movie starts to pick up momentum, when this trilogy starts to pick up momentum at the end, and you see where it's headed, and you see how they're going to lock in all of those loose pieces, and you realize that you're dealing with like a Swiss watchmaker, and it's all kind of closing down to a really satisfying, ending. But they're still kind of messy and alive and making mistakes or whatever. That's why I thought the Wes Craven thing you said was brilliant, because it's got the same thing. It's like polished humanity. Does it make sense?
Yeah. The second one to me was really Wet Hot American Summer, directed by Wes Craven with Jason.
Totally. Right. And it has to be because it's also dealing off archetypes and mythologies and like not in the Greek mythology, in the urban legend kind of the way kids scare each other. Or Slender Man.
Also, I'm
shit.
always kind of a sucker for like when a movie starts off and they're like, and then I knew the next day my sister was dead, and I'm like, well, now I gotta watch it. Right. And then you see the sister and you're like, that girl's gonna die. Right. And I don't know, that kind of hook I'm always kind of a sucker for.
Right. And if David Lowery had done Fear Street, you would have had chapter titles for that. It'd be like, in which the sisters argue.
But it would have been in a font that I couldn't read.
True, and 15 times with the same words. Anyway, so I'm excited for you to watch.
They only did that once, though. Did you notice that?
They did
Green
do
Knight?
that. They did do the repetition once, but they did the chapter title stuff a lot, which was, and then they were like, look how meta this is, whatever. I'm like, look how Princess Bride you are. Anyway, so if you're real innovative, Billy Crystal was there before you, but congratulations. So. I'm really excited for you to watch the end of this, because I think I think that if you'd binged it, watched it in a row, this one would have been a different experience for you than starting it, hating it, and then coming around to it, because it really is a 6-hour movie. But it's going to be really interesting to see what you make of, because I think they nail the last one is so good.
Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to it. Like, we're gonna watch it tonight, and like I'm like really excited to go and check it out. And the other thing that this movie did was it introduced I love it, and I don't remember the last time a movie did this, was when it introduced the one couple. They were fucking, and they were the druggy couple.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were the couple who was just always on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And when they came, I was like, I hate them. Like they're annoying. They took the book from the girl, and immediately whenever you're watching a movie, like everyone kind of knows that there's a slasher on a summer camp. Like when you see anyone fucking or smoking pot, you're like,
obviously,
they're gonna get it.
Yep.
Which was fun because some of them took a little longer than the other.
Mm-hmm.
But I hated them. I hated the couple. I still hate the dude. But
I don't like when they get that couple wrong. They got that couple wrong on one of the Final Destinations too, and they got that couple wrong in Blair Witch 2, and I don't like it whenever they get it wrong. But they only temporarily got this one wrong. You'll see.
but I ended up liking the druggy girl. I was rooting for her. Like when she was, first of all, I would never in a million. Like I'm sorry, I probably just would have chose death. Like there's no way I'm climbing Pooh Mountain to get out of there. That's the other thing. The girl hears her sister downstairs and she sticks her head in the toilet. She's like, "Is that you?" No one does that. Would stick their head in.
No. Only someone who wants to give you that visual would make it a character do that.
M. Night Shyamalan's licking his lips. Like, man, you got any diapers down there?
Yeah, I thought of that.
But I ended up like rooting for her, and I thought like the whole like once they the sister and the drug girl got caught in the cave, like I like that dynamic of cutting back and forth with them trying to deal with like the witch stuff and the killers up top, and then Officer Good or not previous young Officer Nick,
yes,
like sort of leading the camp. Just every dynamic in it I thought was really dialed in on this one.
It was, because it's headed somewhere.
I know.
That's what I'm saying, is like you can feel it. It's just like getting close to a destination when you're driving with your family and they're like sleeping in the backseat, but everyone starts to stir and realize that they're close and get their shoes back on. You don't have to smell their feet anymore. Right? Exactly. Like this show's doing that. You'll still like.
I am just like pleased as punch though that like.
And I don't like shit like this, right? Like, strangely, I like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, the movie. Okay enough. I would have given that like a C+. But I was surprised because I usually don't like YA stuff. I didn't grow up with it. I'd never read a Goosebumps book or Fear Street or any of the other things. So I don't know. I didn't get any of this wave. But when it's really good or atmospheric or just authentically scarier than you'd expect it to be for that age group, like that thing in the hallways in Scary Stories movie.
Oh yeah.
Right, like but. This one brought like a whole different level of storytelling. It's weird. It's more elaborate somehow than like Sabrina, right? But less. It's less charming. It's less charming than Sabrina, right?
Yeah. I can see what you mean.
But this one has its own energy that is just really unique and kind of feels like they could go other places with this. Like this team, I had the same feeling when this ended that I had with Host, that Zoom horror movie, where I'm like, I would trust these people to do something else, even if it's unrelated, because they're probably going to do something interesting with it.
Right. No,
Well, I'm excited we get to see what you think. You're like parceling this out across episodes.
I know. Well, I think it's kind of nice because like I let 94 marinate.
Yes.
And I couldn't have hated it more. Like I thought there was a handful of cool things in there, and like the creature designs were cool, but everything else I thought was just so flat. I didn't care about the characters. I only cared about the little brother. I thought he was the only interesting one because he kind of felt like his own little. He was moldery, kind of like he believed that something was out there, and I always like characters like that. But man, never in a million years. Like if you 3 days ago, like if we time traveled and we came into me sitting in this office, and we were like, Nick, we have good news. Your tune is gonna change on Fear Street, and the Green Knight, the movie you're going to see, you're gonna fucking hate it. And I would be like, there's no way I come around on Fear Street and hate Green Knight.
Right.
And here I am liking
But
Fear Street.
and you know what else I like about this? I like that you just let it be what it's going to be. This is what you always wanted from Shudder's Creepshow. You wanted it to turn around. You wanted yeah, but you were ready to accept it when it happened, and you were like, that's what you were rooting for, right? Like,
Yeah.
And this one did it, which is not usual. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Well,
so far, we'll see. You could hate the room. We'll see what.
Well, what's funny is we're going back to medieval, or not medieval.
Oh,
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, you're gonna hear a flute.
Yeah, we're gonna hear some flutes. So.
Can I know I'm really late to this party, I guess, but can I just real quick, because of you and thank you for it, is just rave up Primal for a second? Because Primal.
Oh fuck, dude! Primal
was amazing. It's like I've waited for the Alien one for you, but like it's amazing, right? And it's so.
Did you watch all the other ones?
Unique, most of them. I
Okay.
think I missed one somehow, but it's so unique. And even though the beats are a little repetitive, like in an episode when something's gonna. It shouldn't go on again, but absolutely know it's going to happen again.
So, for everyone listening, I'm going to sell this show to you.
Yes.
So this show is called Primal. The whole thing is on. It's an Adult Swim show.
Yep.
You can watch the whole thing on Adult or HBO Max. It is written. It's by the Samurai Jack guy, and I never watched Samurai Jack, but I always knew of.
Wait, I thought I was late to this. Sorry to interrupt just real quick. Is this been out for a while? Was this a really popular thing?
This is relatively known.
So it's not known. I thought it was really known. Okay, go ahead.
It's not like. So I mean,
I didn't set up because I thought everyone knew about this besides me.
No. So it's, and I've only seen a few TikToks about it, and that's how I found it. So it is about it's Spear and Fang. Mm-hmm. Basically, a caveman befriends a T-Rex, and they're just living their life. And each story, it's kind of anthology. Almost each episode has like this it's crazy unique. So one of them is like a zombie apocalypse with a herd of Brontosaurus, and then another one is an alien one, which George was just mentioning, and my friend Cody actually compared one to Evil Dead. It is violent. There's probably 2 sentences of dialogue that comes at the last episode, so there's no dialogue. Like this show,
they're conveying a lot though in their body language and the way they're interacting.
So like what's funny is it's actually kind of compared. We can float this with the Green Knight, as the Green Knight tried to do that thing where it hung and it wasn't giving anything. When this show hangs on a shot, there is a fucking reason.
Yep. And the reason is, even if you can guess where the reason's heading, you're not going to guess how they're going to make it look or how far they're going to take it. You just
because the art style is so brash. Like it has this when the show's called Primal, this show is primal.
Yeah.
But like whenever they hang on a shot, it is usually either Spear or Fang's eyes. And because when they hang on their eyes, it is because they are examining whatever this task is, and it's always life or death. Yep. But when they hang on it, like you really feel them trying to calculate, like what the fuck do we need to do to survive? And it gives you that moment. So like in the Green Knight, when they hang on it, it's usually bracing you, like okay, we're hanging on the shot so the audience can get ready, because when this next thing happens, it's gonna happen quick and it's gonna be in your face. And the Green Knight didn't do it. When this show does it, they fucking go for it because they have to survive this. And it is beautiful. The art in it is amazing. Totally.
And why is a horror podcast talking about it? It's authentically scary in parts.
Yes, it's
one of the best depictions of zombies I've seen in quite a while.
And the gore in it is great. The music is awesome because there's no seriously, half the dialogue is Spear going because he's caveman. Like
absolutely.
It's just, if he's not swinging a rock, he's throwing a spear.
Yep.
And then Fang roaring.
Yep.
But the music in it, it's this like electric guitar-y kind of rock. So I think there's like some symphonic stuff sometimes, but like it's just a weird experiment of pure visual storytelling that. If you watch The Green Knight and they don't say shit, but they do a lot of things and nothing happens, watch Primal. They won't say fucking anything because one's a T-Rex and one's a caveman.
Right.
But the visuals that they show you will fill your brain will automatically fill it in and have a way better time.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly it's going to be more entertaining, but it's also just as meaningful. I will fight for this thing. Like the Green Knight, and it's like fans think it's the new like greatest fantasy movie ever made with like philosophy and intellectualism and whatever. Primal is also getting across meaning. It's just too busy surviving to spend a bunch of time telling you what the meaning is. You got to put in the work, as Training Day would have said. Like, you got to put in your own work here. It's there's meaning in there. There's meaning in how far does a friendship go, and how do your strengths complement each other, and how do you even make it to the next moment if you're too busy, you can't learn the lessons from the things that just happened to you because there's no time to even think about that with the next thing, right? It's like those game shows where they ask you really simple trivia questions like what's 6 times 30, but they're throwing like freaking firecrackers at you and like dumping cold water buckets out of your head while they're asking you, and you can't answer, right? These guys are constantly in that state, but they constantly have to answer life and death questions and decisions all the time. It is riveting.
Right? And what's funny is you could watch, I think each episode's like 20 something minutes. There's like 10 episodes, so I mean, by the time you watch a Green Knight,
right,
you could enjoy an entire season of this master.
Oh yeah,
show.
Absolutely. By the time the Green Knight, by the time the guy makes his journey to meet the Green Knight, you could have watched 22 episodes.
By the time the guy splooges on his robe, you could get a whole season.
And I got to shout out this zombie dinosaur, man. This zombie dinosaur, it was so like cool and impressive, but also like terrifying. Not in a, you walk out at midnight, you got to walk down the street back home, and you're looking around corners or whatever because you're not getting attacked by a zombie dinosaur. But it's just terrifying in its relentlessness, right?
And
its lack of understanding why it's even doing what it's doing.
That episode is the best giant monster movie thing I've seen
since Colossal.
Yeah, it's been a while. But like the last thing I just want to say about it is like you have this like art style that like there's like it's kind of rough, but in between, like for example when they do a close up of like the Brontosaurus who's zombified. They do these like Ren and Stimpy-esque close-up. Like when Ren and Stimpy would do a close-up of something, it was always fucking disgusting.
Totally.
Like it would be like some dude's face, but you would see like 5 o'clock shadow and like a big pimple that's oozing,
that
and
would
then
be the point,
like a booger would be hanging from his nose. But it's all in like great detail.
Totally.
This show like throws those in at like the best pivotal points. Like whenever like they want you to understand why this thing sucks, they throw that shot at you, and you go, "Oh, that thing sucks." And then you're caught up to speed. You're right there with
totally. But and not to get to like whatever, right? But like if because I'm so mad at the Green Knight, it's the same level. They're just not telling it to you, so you're not hearing it and getting chapter titles about it. So you have to like do your own work. But if you do your own work and dig in here, you'll realize if anyone who's at home who has a cat. You're going to realize that if you do something or something startles your cat's eyes are going to go like Jack the Ripper black.
Yeah.
The pupils are going to expand to the size of small planets, right? And their focus is, their eyes are going to look super exaggerated and big, and their focus is going to be super intense. Well, that is the perpetual state of being of these two characters. So when everything is like Gonzo zoomed in real close and like super big lightning bolt and super big cliff rock and super big sunburst, and so that's because it's their adrenaline and they're amped up and they're doing that cat focus. Oh, I'm in danger, or I need to catch my next meal thing. The art is reflecting what they're doing. Fuck you, Green Knight. Anyway,
I'm so glad we ended on Primal. Like I would have never brought it up on the show. And out of all the things I've watched recently, that was the thing during Nick's Summer Movie Extravaganza.
Yes.
I watched the entire season of Primal, which counts. It's not a movie,
no,
but it
counts.
But it definitely counts. If there was one thing to recommend, I bet by the end of this year, like when we do the Hollow Weekly Awards.
Primal will definitely be on a list of something for sure.
I mean, it's that good.
No doubt.
It's that good.
It's absolutely that good, and it's also like it stands in for something. Sometimes when you're doing a list, especially in a year when there's a lot of good stuff, right? You have to pick a stand-in for something, right? I'm not the biggest slasher fan, especially modern slashers. It's rare. Like something like an Eden Lake will float up, and I'll love it, but like whatever. I'm not. It's just I slasher wasn't my genre originally, so it's harder for me to get to it. But I appreciate it when it's well done, right? But this you got to pick one. So like that one year, I thought the best slasher I'd seen the whole year was Strangers Prey at Night. There were other slashers, and they were probably just as good. But like on my list, I put that, and I'm like, you're just gonna stand in for your group because you're my favorite. Nothing else is Primal will either be its own thing or represent like a couple of really interesting things, but no one else is taking Primal's spot, right?
Yeah, the only thing that Primal is definitely its own thing. The only thing that's Primal-esque in the sense of like it's a different style of art is that stop motion film that everyone's talking about now.
Yes,
Mad God.
Yes.
I love that title, by the way.
It's a great title.
That's a cool title.
It's a great title.
But it's that some guy who worked for Industrial Light and Magic, who worked on all the Star Wars movies, for the past 30 years, one guy made a stop motion animation.
So interesting. Yep.
Guillermo del Toro called him a genius or something like that.
I love stories like that. So good.
I'm excited to see that. So that should be interesting.
Right, but there might be a couple niche things, but Primal can represent all of them comfortably. Even if one better comes out, it'll be in a rare group of like interesting things. Now, Green Knight will get replaced the next time I watch like Law and Order SVU, and they like find out that the actual killer is the lawyer who everybody thought was an upstanding citizen who had no honor, and I'd be like, no honor, but that was a better version of the no honor story.
You guys,
and then the Green Knight, you lost to SVU, and Primal is going to win across the board. All right, so
check out Primal and
let us know what you think of these movies. And I told Nick this just real quick. I told Nick this in the car about a different subject, but I relish and love nothing so much as a convincing argument the other way than I feel.
Yes,
right?
I was going to.
So if there's a Green Knight argument that sells me on this, because the reviews I've seen told me things I knew. It looks great in parts, or the Green Knight's interesting,
hauntingly beautiful,
or not the night you would expect, which is also what happens when I get food poisoning, because that's not the meal I expect.
Yeah, it's not the night either, because you wake up at 4:30.
Right, not the night either.
Both ends.
Right, but the reviews weren't convincing arguments. I was convinced that they enjoyed them, but they didn't tell me anything where I'm like, I gotta go give this a second look, because I'm like, as we've established, no one opens doors for each other anymore.
The way people have reviewed this, you're right. Like, if I had to review the Green Knight if I had to review pizza the way people were reviewing the Green Knight, they'd be like, circle of crust, lots of marinara,
right,
and crispy pepperonis. You're like,
and some pineapple. Who expected pineapple? Sweet shouldn't work there. Who knew sweet would work there? Did you know that? We didn't know that.
It was inspiring. And I'm like, you just described like what I saw, and they're like, yeah. Well, please go. Add some more, please. I don't know. The reviews for it I feel like those reviews are fake. It's the only conclusion. But my review, that's funny. Their reviews, illegitimate. My review for Primal, very legitimate. Don't question my authority.
Wow.
Don't question my authority, assholes.
You have no honor.
But we do like. I do like what we were talking of being proven wrong.
Yes.
And if we are wrong, let us know how wrong we are with the 5-star review.
That's unlikely.
That's with a 5.
Anyone who loves the Green Knight is out there like one star or something.
No. Write your review in the Apple thing, and then pretend that the review up top is how you would rate your own review, and then they would give it 5 stars because they think it'd be great. Let me take this one.
Okay. Let me take this one. Let me get to hacking.
Okay.
So here's what we want you to do. We want you to leave in a 5-star review any kind of convincing. It doesn't even have to be an argument. It could be like, I really loved this, but not something super obvious, like it looks great, or Joel Edgerton's a good actor. But like
he is though.
Right, he is. He's great. Right, but there's something he is. He was awesome in Black Mass. But put something interesting in there, and if it's in a 5-star review, we will respond to it in our next episode or the episode after we see it. If you put an interesting insight, but it's in a 1-star review, we are not responding to it ever. I'm going to lose some sleep, but we're never going to respond.
Oh yeah, I'll look at it and I'll be like, the username will be fake. It'll be like a bunch of 1s and 0s, and then I'll just be like, God. The one time we did get a 1-star review, I was like, that kind of makes us look more legit, because when you got like 100 5-star reviews, it looks like your mom reviewed you 100 times. You know, you get that 1-star, you're like, yeah, here's the real deal.
That's the 1-star review was to get probably my mom. So. I think if you put something interesting in there, we would love to respond to it, because, and I'm gonna be honest here, right? There are movies that grow on you. This one isn't going to, especially since it wants to. Green, fuck you, movie. But and Especially since I don't think we dug enough into the fact that this movie hates us. It hates humanity. It hates you. While you're kissing this movie's ass, this movie hates you. I promise you. At the heart of this movie is a misanthropy yet to be explored. But anyway, so the if you leave something interesting, there's nothing better than responding to it. We'll give you a whole like segment of just whatever, especially if it's an argument. So hit us up.
Oh yeah, we do like arguments.
We do. Well, I can't respond to 5 minutes if you're just like, you know, you guys didn't notice that that the Green Knight had a, you know, sigil on his shield that meant, you know.
So like, you guys actually don't notice, but it was the Green Knight who came on his robe. Like, god damn it, we missed.
Actually, I mean, I'll respond to that.
I'll respond to that one too.
I didn't see that coming.
All right, well, we'll talk to you guys later. Stay scary. Watch a bunch of horror movies. Not the Green Knight. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.